Hail all you Saga friends out there. Rodge here, aka the Wisco Horn Dog, and I'm back again for another Saga Thursday, your regular source for Saga, the miniatures game content. And it's no surprise what we're up to today. We are kicking it back with part 2 of our Scots battleboard review, and we're going to pick up right where we left off right now. Cool. Well, let's pop down to Reach. This is a greenie, so we got some spearmen. It's another ducky quail creature there, another stag, optionally. It's an activation ability. Discard this die and activate one of your units for a movement. 2 units if it is a stag, so a little boost there. For this movement only, the unit is considered to be armed with javelins, but with a reduced range of short. Any ability that kind of gives you a shooting without having to take shooting units, I think is really awesome. So I really like that because a lot of the warbands, mounted troops and stuff, really aren't balanced unless you have some kind of shooting factor to kind of keep them honest. So any kind of ability like this, I think is really cool, and I definitely would want to play a warband with it. How often do you end up using it? It's another quail. Shooting is so sketchy. Like even against those units that are extremely vulnerable to it, you just don't know if you're going to be doing anything. I mean, do you take like a big 12-man unit to really get the big volley out of this, or?
I typically run my warriors in 10 packs, and I run an 8-pack of Hearthguard.
Okay.
So I found that with the Hearthguard, it catches people off guard a little bit, and the reduced range to the short makes it a little trickier because you're gonna be standing there up in their grill. But it's nice that it allows you to make that activation. So you effective 10-inch range, move up, then throw. The stag is great.
Yeah.
Getting to do 2 activations, and then the throws are just bonus. It's one of those ones that it's been I didn't play it as much early on, and now I've really seen the value in it, so I've been playing it more recently.
Okay. Yeah, for 1 dice, get some free shots in there, and I think it's kind of themey too because you don't really want to go in against the Scots, on their turn. So you're kind of just standing there, and they're kind of just chucking rocks and spears at them. Like, come on, bring it in, bring it in. So you're just kind of getting some free shots in there if you kind of got a standoff there, which I think could definitely happen. Because I know the first time I played J-Jack, I was on the receiving end. I'm like, well, I don't know what to do here because I don't want to attack you in your turn, and you don't attack me in my turn. So I think that's pretty cool. Next one of Wood and Steel. This is one you mentioned earlier, and this is the first ability that takes 2 dice that I see on the board. It's a common and an uncommon quail. They're melee. Discard these dice, gain 2 attack dice, plus a number of attack dice equal to the number of defense dice your unit has. Okay, so this is the one I was thinking of earlier with counterattack. I'm like, there is an ability that gives you a shitload of attack dice, and you get to keep all your defense dice. And this looks to be it. So
it's one of them. There's another one coming up.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
This looks like the moneymaker here.
It's pretty much a yes. It's a 1+ almost every time.
Well, at least it's 2 dice. So So when you fight defensively, basically this recoups all of the attack dice that you lost, and then you gain 2 attack dice on top of it. So everything being even, you get a bunch of defense dice and attack dice, but you can combo it with the hold the ground ability, which will get you a bunch more defensive dice anyways, and the combat pool. That's one thing I see a lot when I'm playing the Scots is that the combat pool seems to get a lot of use. Just adding pips of defense dice to.
Yeah, because that single die you put in the combat pool in this combination is worth that defense die plus worth an attack die. So it's really so much more bang for your buck.
Yeah, you're kind of doubling down there. So, okay, yeah, I can definitely see how this one is your go-to moneymaker here. I guess you said there was another ability. There's one left. You want to hit us with it?
All right, here it is, the Barrier of Spears. So here we need to have an uncommon and a rare. And with it, you discard the dice. You roll a die for each model of your unit. For each dice with a result lower than the armor, gain 1 attack and 1 defense dice. Right. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, probably what's obvious to everybody on this one is, so this is a great offense ability where so you rolled in, you attack now. Like we've been standing around, as you brought up, we're looking at each other, hurling insults, and deciding who's going to actually fight this fight. And we decided, all right, the Scots are like, sweet, here we go. I got the Barrier Spears. I go in on you. You know, in an ideal world, you've got at least a fatigue. So I go in on step 3. I use your fatigue. I boost my armor up to make this ability work better. So pretend it's Hearthguard, 8 Hearthguard going in.
5
so
to
you
6,
roll
yeah.
5 to 6. So every dice roll under their armor. So 1 through 5 gets those Hearthguard an extra attack and an extra defense die. Oh, and maybe combo to some other stuff, and oh god.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So many defense dice could be had
so
here.
Many defense dice.
Oh yeah.
Well.
Oh
yeah. So I mean, even on Warriors, it works pretty good. I mean, it's.
Yeah, like you said, it is a good attack ability because you can use their Pip of Fatigue before they have a chance, basically, to nullify it and take you back down. You know, in their step of the melee. So, yeah, wow, this is an awesome ability. Yeah, that's definitely kind of the big one. That sometimes they're duds when you get to that last spot, but you got a decent one in the pocket here. So, yeah, wow. Overall, definitely some great synergy. So I don't really maybe that running away ability is. Kind of the least useful one, but like you said, take the Warlord, mount it anyways. I mean, there's no reason not to. So pretty much all of these seems like you would use them in a battle over the course of that. Is that right?
Yeah, some of the fun challenges to playing Scots is just choosing which ability do you want to use.
I think you definitely would need to play some games to figure out, which ability is the best ability to use in this situation. So, yeah, you definitely have a lot of different pieces. So let's go back to Without Mercy then. So you're going in using Barrier Spears. You got a good offensive phase, so you save 1 dice for your defensive for the opponent's turn. So it looks to me like you're kind of hoping for at least 1 quail for a wood and steel. Is that kind of your money maker?
Yeah, if you roll them, if you don't get a stag where you can make some more dice with your activation pool, you're kind of hoping for a quail, and usually it's throw the 2 dice down on wood and steel, and then 1 on whole ground, and that's a great little trade-off for the rare. Yeah,
and I think that's good. Worst case scenario, you're still going to get a bunch of defensive dice on some units, so you still have a great defensive game. But if you do roll that quail, then you're bringing back, some attack dice as well. You're giving your unit some teeth as well.
Yeah.
Usually get that quail. How often? How do you feel?
Yeah, pretty often.
Okay.
I played a game just recently. I got 3 snakes, and I'm like, okay.
Oh man.
But so you still throw 1 on a whole ground, you throw the other 2 snakes in combat pool, and you still came out with 4 defense dice.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny when you get a bunch of snakes and you look around your board and you're like, I don't need these except for activating warriors.
Oh yeah, I guess that would be the killer here.
Yeah.
That all snake phase. You're gonna hold the ground, and ooh, wow, yeah, this one looks particularly susceptible, John. I mean, you power up your combat pool, activate warriors. Okay, yeah, I guess you can do some nasty stuff, but that is the limiting factor for most
You
of
do
these.
need some special dice.
Daddy needs lots of quails. Needs that advisor telling him what to do.
That's right.
Okay. So we kind of touched on your army warband composition a little bit, but it looks like you're mostly taking warriors and Hearthguard.
Yeah. Typically 2 points in Hearthguard, make him an 8-pack unit. 4 points in warriors. Sometimes sometimes I'll bring a point of levy. Just, if you know what your opponent's got and you think levy might help, I'll bring levy. Religious advisor now with the new rules. It's not bad. I'm not sure if it's worth a point in my mind, but I think just having more guys with spears is more valuable than what the religious advisor currently does for the Scots, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, a warrior, you get one guy or 8 bodies, so.
Yeah, 8 bodies can be pretty useful here.
Yeah, fighting defensively.
That many more defense dice.
Yeah, you kind of lock in all those defense dice where the advisor, I was kind of talking about with Mikey G, it kind of gives you those 2 or 3 extra dice during those pivotal turn 3, 4 phases, but you still have to roll those dice, and you still might not get what you need for those phases. Right. And then they're also susceptible to certain scenarios and stuff like that. You might not. Yeah. You probably just want to have the body. So, okay, cool. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, the enlightened to be able to guarantee a quail or stag, that could be usleful.
Yeah, it could be useful.
But you're probably getting enough. And then the warrior priest, I'm not seeing much warlord action here. That's kind of what I look for to see whether that guy's going to be handy or not, is if there's kick-ass warlord abilities. So, okay, that's pretty badass. So how? I like this board a lot because I think once you've got a few games in and you kind of know how things work, you should play against the Scots because it's like the perfect counter to the probably the most bankable tactic, which is go into combat and then throw all of your melee abilities, saga abilities, and just stack them up into that one combat and then win it handily, and then figure out the rest later. But that's your main strategy. Where that just doesn't work against the Scots because they bring back whatever you did. They're bringing back an equal number of attacks, and then there's just a shitload of defense dice just soaking up exactly what you did. So you really have to be, go think about multiple combats, try to entice them to use their defensive dice based off what you're using, and try to find a weak point. So I really like how this board functions in the overall kind of scheme of things. So how do your battles kind of end up? Do you against an experienced player, do they go in against you on your turn, or do you find that you have to go in on your turn? Or I guess how does that play out against somebody who knows what these guys can do?
I think you nailed it, Joe. It's inexperienced players do exactly what you said. Like, I'm gonna load up all my abilities, I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna crush them, and game after game they walk away with their unit dead. In most of Scots, they just tried to crush standing there. It's like it was like a guarantee. So you're right. So the key with the Scots is you need to have set up multiple melees so that you're making that Scottish player pick and choose where we're doing whatever. And really the turn you want to have that is where the Scottish player if you can ever catch a Scottish player with an empty battleboard, that's the turn you need to hit 'em. That's the key. Like you need to be going in. So because that's the key. So a lot of times that'll be like the turn where they rolled nothing but snakes and they've got junk on their board and you got to take advantage of it. So you're partly up to the will of the dice gods as far as what they get with their Saga dice, and then otherwise just setting up multiple combats and using your abilities and just having a little mind game on I'm going to charge here. So because again it's like depends on, because of the sequencing with step 2 and the Scottish player deciding am I going to go defensive and I'm going to take those dice, but then if I don't start comboing my abilities I won't get the advantage because you the aggressor said, this isn't the combat we're going to use a bunch of my melee abilities. So then the Scottish player's like, well, do I use mine or do I wait, or are you charging over here? And it's that. So you kind of got to like, you kind of usually have to have like a first combat that's not that meaningful, not meaningless, but not that meaningful, and sort of feel out what they're going to do, your Scottish opponent, and then go from there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that does raise a good point with the fighting defensively. So I get the Scottish player does need to make a decision before you necessarily have to decide your abilities and stuff. Because to get the most bang for the buck, they do want to fight defensively. But if they don't end up not wanting to use those abilities on that particular unit, then usually fighting defensively just isn't really that great unless you have other ideas in mind. So you really need you are kind of locking yourself into using an ability or two. So that's a really good point. Do you have a lot of trouble against lists that are more focused on shooting, where they don't necessarily have to engage you on your turn? You got the trap set, but they don't really want to come in.
Shooting lists are harder, especially mobile cavalry-based shooting lists.
Oh, sure.
Because you've got combat pool defensive dice. You've got keeping the distance. Keeping the distance is fantastic against shooting, but you've only got one go.
One time.
Yeah, one time. So if you face off against those multiple shooting units, and you have to pick and choose which. Because you have to use that before they roll dice. Is like, is this the turn you're going to roll really good? I don't, you just take a chance.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you fight the shooting list, you're usually taking multiple shooting activations to really wear down. Any one shooting activation probably isn't going to do anything anyways, but it could. That might be the one.
Especially those little ones where eight warriors mounted are just a pain in the rear, because 4 dice, say they got 3 of them circling you and you're just like, oh crap, is this the turn they roll 4 4s like you mentioned earlier, or what? And you just don't know. So yeah, it's hard because you don't have speed to go catch those units. So sometimes you're going to be depends on the scenario you're playing, but Scots love hunker down into terrain and just use that if they can, but depends what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. So you're going to be kind of slower, and you really need them to play your game to kind of get the most of everything. So some armies aren't just going to want to do that. Most of them probably still have to give it a go, but you got the scenarios mixed in as well, where sometimes you just need to be in a spot to be effective and score points and stuff like that. So you don't necessarily need to engage per se. So. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I think that was a pretty decent discussion. Man.
Scots are fun.
Yeah, they look fun. What range do you use for their models?
I got the Griffin Beast models. I like those. I don't know if there's much other options, at least not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
There's probably there's some guys that are Irish that they probably could cross over.
Get away with them.
Scots have more shoes than the Irish. I just want to mention. So you might have green stuff shoes on those Irish guys.
Judging from my visits to the Tilted Kilt, I would say there's not really any difference as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, those are some pretty short skirts there. Yeah, that's a good point. If you need some research on your Scots and how they should look, Tilted
Kilt, head down there. Yeah, excellent, yeah. Cool. Well, I think that's about it. Any closing thoughts? So you played 50 games with them, and then didn't you just play a game last week? I think you were telling me it
I did.
in message. So apparently they're pretty fun.
Yeah, they're super fun. I played against Monty Lumen, the Twin Cities. I'm trying to think of what his Twitter handle is.
Twin Cities Gamer.
Thank you, that guy. Great guy. Awesome to have him in our gaming circle. Yeah, we played. He had his Mutawati, and so he just wanted to get a little practice for Adepticon, which is coming up here shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And yeah, so Scots versus Mutawati is generally a bloodbath, and true to form, it was a bloodbath.
Excellent, cool.
Yeah.
So, do you think this board kind of holds up against the newer boards? I guess that's one thing I've asked previously.
I think so. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, like as long as this board really excels against the boards that want to engage you in melee, and the boards that want to dance around and run circles around you and shoot you with javelins, well, yeah, just hope you can roll a lot of 4+ shooting saves, because otherwise it's gonna be a long day.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
You're a fount of knowledge. I think we'll have you on again. You're playing Bretons for Adepticon, is that right?
Yeah, doubles tournament. Me and Eric Hagen are teaming up, and I've got Bretons, and he's bringing Normans. And for the Grand Melee singles, I'm going to have another go with the Norse Gale.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Yeah, we'll have to have you back chatting about both of those factions, perhaps.
Sounds good.
Yeah, excellent. Cool. Well, as always, John, thank you very much for popping on. And we'll catch you later, dude.
All right, talk to you later, man.
See ya. Oh, wow. Holy crap. There was a lot going on there. Big thanks to the Silver Fox. Damn. I definitely need to get some games in against these guys, because I am not confident at all going over all those nasty abilities that we discussed. So if you have any other tips for playing with or against the Scots, definitely drop a line below or hit me up on Twitter at WiscoHorndog. And as always, like and favorite this shit. Share it with a buddy. Spread that Saga word, my friends. I'm doing my part. Are you doing yours? I don't know. I can't tell. Anyways, if you do this, I'm sure you will have what it takes to become a hobby horn dog today. Saga!